Welcome to episode 9 of Becoming the Sun with Jowita. Today we are taking a journey through the power of our subconscious mind, learning how to move through unfavorable interactions, alchemizing discomfort into clarity, practicing proper spiritual hygiene and discernment with everyday occurrences, even navigating corrupt societal systems, to discussing how we can allow space for growth and change in a loving and effective manner. And 10 signs your mind is exceptionally sharp according to psychology. Thank you so much for being here. Let's get started. Okay, awesome. I'm really excited that we're getting started, and I will just be extremely transparent. I have been on the struggle bus as far as my content creation for this podcast or my creativity. I feel like I've been going through some funky for the last several days. I've just really been letting myself feel into what those things are. And I'm not sure if I've talked about this before in my previous episodes, but when you are on the spiritual path, it's kind of crazy how much your heart begins to open and how much empathy you're flooded with and how much you recognize your behaviors in the moment, the behaviors or the programs that you're running in your head that are unfavorable or don't resonate with truth or don't resonate to the highest timeline that you wish to embody. It's crazy how the more that you embark on this whole know thyself spiritual journey, everything becomes amplified. So I've been feeling really exhilarated and having extremely beautiful days with just a lot of insight that flows into my consciousness, and I'm able to feel really, really fantastic. And then there are those days where I just feel in a rut. I'm angry. I feel rage for no reason. Just really trying to learn how to move through that. And if you're one of those people that is quite self-critical, then this message is absolutely for you, because as we all know by now, if you've been listening since episode 1, I struggle with that. And I try really hard to be optimistic and to focus my efforts on things that are flourishing versus things that are out of my control. And it's really hard because there's a tug of war sometimes with, oh, I should be doing this, but sometimes the feeling of needing to or should is already tainted with so much obligatory, icky energy just based on false information, that expectations that were placed on us when we were younger versus our sovereign soul and the mission that we chose to embark on. And there's just so much distortion in the world, which stems from societal to parental to just universal, just things that we've adopted over decades and centuries on this planet, that when you really begin to tap into them, you're like, it doesn't feel like truth. It doesn't feel right. And I feel like a lot of things, especially in our political sphere and Hollywood, Hollyweird, so many things are crumbling and dismantling, and so many people are being held accountable, which is a wonderful thing. And I think it's teaching all of us subconsciously, whether we are really tuning into that frequency or not, but it's really teaching us to, practice more discernment, because there is a lot of distortion and there's a lot of things that are being fed to us by very manipulative powers that are not serving, are not interested in our highest good. So while it's all love and light and love will always prevail and the nice guy will always win, practicing the discernment, and I'm talking about in every aspect, as minuscule, seemingly minuscule as a conversation with someone, and they're saying one thing, but you can kind of tell beneath that what they're saying is not in alignment with truth. And that goes from getting out of our heads and tapping into our heart space. And that's also something that's been really helpful for me as I have been on this journey of self-mastery and trying to be kinder to myself, kinder to others. There's an interesting dynamic when it comes to personal development and growth, especially within the spiritual community that I've witnessed, and sometimes I into the trap of. So I wanted to talk about that because it's not something that is very much often discussed. However, it's the feeling that one is incomplete. I had a conversation a couple years ago with a friend of mine who actually introduced me to Alan Watts and his teachings, and really kind of cracked open my interest in philosophy and spirituality and quantum physics and esoteric teachings. And we were talking one day, and he's like, "What are you looking for? What is it that you're seeking?" And initially, I was a little taken aback by that question because I'm like, "What do you think I'm seeking? I'm seeking truth." I didn't know that at the time. It was just this feeling of, because I'd always be interested in sharing, just like I am now, things that are of truth or things that are uplifting, because humans have a tendency to be continually focused on fear, to be continually focused on scarcity, to be continually focused on lack. And when we vibrate in that frequency for an extended period of time, that is what we attract to us. So I have been very cognizant of that truth, the law of magnetism, the law of attraction, and have been really trying to share things that would uplift others and myself as a means to getting ourselves out of victimhood and getting ourselves out of thinking that we are the problem. Can we just take a moment to talk about how many deplorable advertisements there are on TV for pharmaceutical drugs? I was watching I think it was the baseball game with Troy the other day, and every single time there was a commercial break, it was some new prescription, some new once a month injection or once a day pill. And the commercials are unbelievable at this point. We romanticize medication, and if you watch these commercials, I always try to make it seem as if your body is the enemy. And it's like so disgusting. And the more that I'm learning about how our body is a completely self-healing organism, and that we are so brilliantly, how we adapt so brilliantly, and how our body is just so resilient, it makes me sick to my stomach to see these commercials, because it's instilling fear, number one, in a format that is like a musical, a cheesy musical with everyone riding horseback or frolicking on the beach. I feel like they should be ashamed of themselves for contributing to like this big lie and this big dependency on fueling the pockets of the pharmaceutical industry, when there are so many different options. I mean, I'm not saying that medicine is bad. I do love Western medicine. I've talked about this before. There are, powers that be that control our world, that it's not in their best interest to have a healthy society, because a healed customer is no longer a customer. There's a reason why these medications are pumped out on a continual basis, and they have you coming back every single week or month or whatever, to refill your prescription. And I know that there are situations where medication intervention is absolutely necessary, but my whole point is I do not think that it should be the immediate within 5 minutes of listening to what your symptoms are, being written a script. And I've had that experience where I've sat in my doctor's office. I remember in my early 20s, this is when I first moved to the Valley. And I remember going to the doctor's office from a friend who had referred me. And I sat down. It was just a regular, I think, family practitioner. I sat down, explained my symptoms for a few moments. And within a 5-minute, I don't even know if he sat down to actually like sit one-on-one with me. His bedside manner was not that great from what I remember. And I just remember being so anxious during the appointment in general. I came from a really small town, so I may be moving to the big city. And I think actually, no, at this time, this is after. So this is actually when I lived in Tempe, and I had broken up with my first boyfriend, and I was living on my own with a college roommate. That's what it was. Not that these details are relevant, but it's just so fun to think back on like your past and who you were when you were younger, and just how much I wish I can go back so many times and give myself a big hug. And then sometimes I wish I can go back and just slap myself in the face and be like, "What are you doing, girl? You deserve so much better than this." Or put your ego in check. There's so many situations where I look back and I'm like, man, I was a little brat. And life humbled me, right? Like, as life does humbles you and puts you in check, hopefully. So you can realign that compass, get back on track. But yeah, but going back to the importance of discernment and how can we practice discernment? It varies for every single person. For me, it's just sitting back, just silencing the mind, getting into a meditative state, listening to some even just fun stuff, like listening to music, being in your living room on your own, lighting some candles, playing some music, moving your hips, like just moving your body. Like, trauma is released through dance. Dancing is such a beautiful way to release not only traumas, but just stresses of the day, realign our energy system, and bring us back into a balance. We can release tension. There's so many beautiful things. So one of the ways that you can receive clarity or being able to, as a method of practicing discernment, is doing body movement or meditation, or just getting into a place where you're no longer run by your thoughts, because we think thoughts every single day. It's like our mind is the way that Eckhart Tolle talked about it in one of his books. I think it was The Power of Now. Our mind is like this toddler who is uncontrollable, who has had too much sugar and is running around like crazy. And that is what that's what our brain is like. So actually knowing that your thoughts are just thoughts, like your thoughts don't define you, is such a power. It's such a power. And then we forget that. I forget that constantly. And just the other day, I was going through all these like funky feelings because I had this interaction last week. Oh gosh. So I had this interaction last week with this woman who, I guess details are irrelevant, but I lost my cool on her. Like, it was a phone call and she was calling to inform me of something. I didn't like the delivery of how she had spoken to me, which was red flag number one for me, which made me feel like I regressed in my growth like 10 steps, because I always preach and I always say, like, don't match people's energy. If they're coming at you with low energy, meaning they're coming at you grumpy or angry or bitchy, take the higher road, practice utilizing your higher intelligence, do not become emotionally reactive, and respond. Don't react, respond. And responding means thoughtfully curating a response, not utilizing your immediate, like, primitive responses, but utilizing I think it's your prefrontal cortex, that part of your brain, to formulate a thoughtful response that is non-abrasive, right? So no, I totally went the other direction. I met her energy. She was rude from the beginning, and I met her with that. I met her with the rudeness, and that rudeness kind of continued throughout the remainder of the conversation, which, again, she was just calling to let me know something. I didn't like the information and the way she had stated it. And then I even remember at one point, I apologized. I'm like, I apologize if I'm being bitchy. I'm not directing this towards you. It's just this information is not something that I was aware of, or something, like, I felt like, anyway, my whole point is that after that interaction, I felt so disappointed in myself. And even though I didn't curse at her or say anything really mean, I really didn't like the way that I represented myself, because I completely, in hindsight, could have handled that so much better. I could have handled it like not taking, that's what it was. I took it personally. I took her rudeness and her abrasive tone personally, versus sitting back and being objective and be like, man, this woman must have had a bad day for her to be speaking like this, because someone who's having a lovely day and feeling fantastic about themselves in life is not going to be rude to somebody for no reason, So, and being able to giggle about it. So later, yeah, after like a day, I let myself, I didn't want to fester in this, but and it wasn't festering it continuously. It was like I was dipping my toe into it periodically throughout the day. As the thought would arise, I'm like, man, I'm really embarrassed about my behavior. I then switched that to be like, okay, well, what can I learn from this situation? Like, I took a moment to like send this woman's higher self-love, and because I thought about calling her back, and I'm like, there's no need to call her back. I'm like, the situation is what it is. And the conversation ended amicably. I think it was just more so I didn't like the way that I responded. But anyway, so I sent her higher self-love, and I was just like, thank you for this lesson. Thank you for being my teacher today. I really appreciate, like, just saying this in my head to her, like, astrally, right? Because I didn't want to have to physically reach out, because it was not necessary. And then I sat back and I'm like, okay, well, what did I learn from this? And I'm like, well, I learned that I am that like self-mastery is not linear, like the know thyself, the path to enlightenment, the mindfulness, like that's not, it's not like a guarantee. Like once you study and learn so much and, read so many books on self-help and utilize all these tools like EFT and meditation, it's not like you're just granted this throne, this crown of enlightenment. Like you're still a human being and you're still going to be tested. So it was really humbling, and I took it as like a silly, fun type of a lesson. And I, thanked my angels, and I'm like, okay, God and guides and higher self, like moving forward in my interactions, like please help me be more elegant. But yeah, so I went through that situation, and in that moment of like, okay, I'm finally, if I'm like on a teeter totter and I'm going, one side of the teeter totter is like self-loathing, feeling like I have imposter syndrome because I'm not who I claim to be, or I'm not who I'm wanting to be, versus the other side, which is like the fully aware, like fun, playful side of like, I am a student for life. So I was like trying to merge those two energies. And one of the things that I wanted to share was something from Erin Lyons, which she talks about, in order to ever change, in order to ever improve yourself, we have to love ourselves. So there's a quote that's like, we cannot shame ourselves into change. We can only love ourselves into evolution. And something that I thought that Erin Lyons brought up in one of her lives that she does these extraordinary lives where she channels source, she channels her galactic team. It's so wild, but it's so beautiful. Everything she shares is just like elite wisdom, and it's all empowering, which I love. So one of the things she said, I wrote it down here, is acceptance is the vehicle through which you travel the quantum. If you cannot accept where you are, you cannot go where you desire to go within the field of possibility and potentiality. So love where you are, love who you are, and it will neutralize energy in a way that it can catapult you into a new character. So that is something that I was like, it felt so good when she said it that I needed to write it down. And we're talking about self mastery and improving ourselves and becoming the version of ourselves that we want to be, and knowing that just because we behaved in a certain way 5 minutes ago does not mean that we have to continue that. If that didn't feel good, if we have enough self-awareness to recognize like that was really icky, we have the ability to change. But in order to change, substantial change, it's not shaming us. It's not being like, man, I'm such an idiot, which I used to always do. I feel like a lot of us are so self-loathing. Yeah, self-loathing is out, and like self-deprecation in general it's not good, because your subconscious absorbs every single thing that you say. So if you're like, I am an idiot, I'm a dumbass, then that's the message that your subconscious is going to pick up. So yeah, let me go back to what Erin Lyons was recommending. She was recommending the following. I am so in love with the version of myself that I am experiencing right now, and I can appreciate how this journey of self has led me to the next conclusion of self that I now prefer to experience. Meaning that I can appreciate the side of me that was reactive and that felt scared and was fearful, because I was able to love that part and I was able to nurture those parts that needed to be nurtured. I was able to heal the wounds, to be able to bring myself to wholeness. So I'm so grateful for this version, because without her, I would not be able to be who I am. And because I know I have free will and that I'm a sovereign being, every single moment of the day provides me with a choice of how I want to behave and who I want to become. And my willingness to participate in this expansion is dependent on the level that I'm allow myself to see, the level that I am allowing myself to, the depth that I'm allowing myself to go, right, within myself. So it's like, it's such a mind-boggling thing, but I think it's so beautiful. And I thought that was such a lovely way to explain that, if you want to change anything about yourself, like love yourself, think of yourself as like this beautiful little flower, and you want to, water yourself and nurture yourself in wonderful soil. And like you can't, and she brings up a really great example of like when you're a baby, when you're a little kid and you're learning how to walk, if you're in front of a baby and they're trying to walk and they stumble and they fall, you're not going to berate them and tell them that they're crummy and they should give up and never try again. You'll tell them that they're amazing and you're proud of them and you can do it. And oh my goodness, like You took one step, let's take two now. Oh, you took two, let's take three. That's the same philosophy that we need to apply to ourselves. And being gentle and being kind and expressing and holding compassion and holding space, like from every moment, like using life as like a daily prayer. I heard that concept of living life as a daily prayer every single day, and I really didn't understand the weight of it until one day I was driving and I found myself behind a really slow car, and I'm a pretty slow driver myself, so I follow the speed limit. Maybe I'll go 10 over sometimes, but I try to be really cognizant and self-aware when I'm driving too, and I don't like to be crazy. Anyway, so I was behind this person and they were going exceptionally slow. And like the older version of me would have been angry and I would have been like, get out of my way. Like, why are you going so slow? Like you're going even below the speed limit, you know? But I had this moment where I was like, I just took a deep breath and I'm like, I just said, what if it's somebody in front of me who's a new driver? Or what if it is somebody who is older and maybe had recently, this is something that peaks in my consciousness a lot, like the thought of what if this person had recently experienced a car accident or a near car accident and they're shaken up and they're just driving extra slow because they want to be cautious. The moment I think of that, it's like it diffuses any potential anger or frustration or annoyance, because that's coming from such a compassionate standpoint. Like, holy cow, like if that was a friend of mine and they were driving slow and they had just experienced, something scary, or maybe they're having a bad day or a long day. I mean, whatever, as long as they're not recklessly weaving in and out of traffic and there's a lane that I can pass them safely and kindly, then I will. Why do we have to get angry? Just little examples like that, and using that as a prayer in the sense that it brings you back to your center. It takes you out of, I gotta be first and the world's out to get me and they're doing it on purpose. They're trying to slow down because I'm too close to or just some nonsense, whatever nonsense stories we tell ourselves, like putting yourself in check and just stopping that thought, I think it's easier said than done, but it's really powerful. And then if you lose your cool, like I lost my cool last week, that's fine too, because there's always an opportunity to do better the next time. And on that acceptance piece, one other thing that I wanted to add as well is there's another quote from Aaron that says, I accept that what is happening to me is revealing something to me that is allowing me to become more clear on where I need more refinement so that I can shift where I need to shift. Using challenges as tools as opposed to resisting them or wishing they would be different, wishing that something were different, just keeps it exactly as it is. So, loving yourself into change, acknowledging that whatever we resist persists. So acceptance is the key. And even Eckhart Tolle talks about this in The Power of Now, that the reason why we suffer, the reason why suffering is so rampant is the inability just to accept the situation. The inability just to say like, okay, this happened. Acknowledge that. Don't resist it. Don't try to say it didn't happen. And then being like, okay, what are the lessons? What can I learn from this? And even asking God, I learned this from Gabby Bernstein, asking God, please help me, or the universe, right? Please, same thing. It's all the same thing. I use the phrase God, the universe, source, energy, all of it, as it's all divine and it's all benevolent and it's all our source, which is God, which is our omnipresent, our creator. So I use those terms interchangeably, but it's asking them like, can you please help me find a solution? And in that moment of surrendering, instead of being like, rah, 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 I'm going to fight against this problem and I'm going to be combative and I'm going to resist and resist and resist, because it's only hurting you and everyone else within your vicinity too, because you just become this toxic vessel of negativity and you're just spewing it on everyone within your reach. It's disgusting. Having that awareness to be like, okay, I'm going to stop right here. I'm going to stop feeling sorry for myself. I'm going to stop feeling like I'm a victim, and being brave enough to step out of your own ego. It's not even brave. It's just honestly common sense and common courtesy at this point. Like, come on, like, you know what I mean? But obviously it's so much easier. It's so much easier in hindsight, because I think of situations too that I'm like, I could have acted, but it's all good. It's all good. We got to be kind to ourselves. We got to learn. Every day is an opportunity to learn, and I I love it. And there's another thing that I wanted to. So now I want to get into 10 signs your mind is exceptionally sharp according to psychology. And I'll link this article in the show notes. So there's a thin line between simply being smart and having an exceptionally sharp mind. It's not just about acing a test or solving a puzzle quickly. According to psychology, having a razor sharp mind is more about how you think than what you know. It's about how you handle different situations, how you solve problems, and how you perceive the world around you. Forget the IQ test for a moment. Here are 10 signs your mind is exceptionally sharp, as backed by psychology. In this article, we'll delve into these signs, helping you understand what really sets an exceptional mind apart. So number one, so if you can keep a mental list or jot these on a piece of paper or in your phone notes, I'd love to know. Reach out to me on my social media, tag me or find me at Jowita Klusek, and I'll have my handle in my show notes as well. But I'd love to know which of these you have. So number one, you're a curious cat. You ever find yourself going down a rabbit hole of a topic just because it piqued your interest? You're not alone. That's a sign of an exceptionally sharp mind. Psychology suggests that curiosity is a hallmark of an intelligent mind. It's not just about knowing a lot of things, but wanting to know more. Curiosity drives us to explore the unknown, seek out new experiences, and broaden our horizons. It's the fuel for creativity and innovation. So if you're the kind of person who loves learning for the sake of learning and often finds themselves lost in thought or absorbed in a deep conversation, that's a strong sign that your mind is sharper than most. Love that one so much. I'm absolutely a curious cat. I'm so insatiable when it comes to literally everything. I love learning. Number two, you quickly make connections. I'm sure you've been there too. You're in the middle of a conversation and suddenly a seemingly unrelated topic or memory pops into your mind. But you don't just let it pass. You find a way to weave it into the conversation, showing how it's connected. And this is like the ability to quickly make connections between different thoughts and ideas is another sign of a sharp mind. It's evidence of strong cognitive flexibility, which psychologists consider a cornerstone of intelligence. And in this particular way, we know how we, especially women, we always talk about how we like ping pong in conversations and we go on like 50,000 tangents. But ladies, don't we tie everything together in a beautiful bow at the end of the conversation? Like we have a knack for being able to, and as I'm explaining, I'm like literally doing the hand motions of tying a beautiful bow. We have a knack of being able to like weave everything together, right? Love that one. Number three, you are adaptable. Change is a constant in life, but not everyone handles it well. However, those with sharp minds tend to be more adaptable and can easily adjust to new situations or shift in plans. Psychologists refer to this as fluid intelligence. It's the ability to problem solve and think logically in novel situations without relying on prior knowledge. Studies show that individuals with high fluid intelligence not only embrace change, but also thrive in it. They see it as an opportunity for growth and learning rather than a disruption. Oh God, I love that. That's so beautiful. And that's in alignment with the phrase that we learned from Gabby Bernstein, to view any potential obstacle as a detour in the right direction, because it always is. And knowing that everything is always working out for your highest good too. That's one of my favorites. Number four, you are a problem solver. Are you the go-to person when something needs fixing or a solution is needed? That's another sign that you're an exceptionally sharp-minded individual. Problem solving is more than just coming up with solutions. It involves understanding the problem, analyzing the situation, considering different options, and deciding on the best course of action. Exceptionally sharp-minded individuals have a knack for seeing problems from multiple perspectives and finding innovative solutions. They don't shy away from challenges, but see them as an opportunity to learn and grow. This one is absolutely huge for me. I'm the type of person that if a friend or my partner comes to me with an issue, I am solutions minded. And I notice this sometimes as a not so much a good thing, because I'm very solution oriented. So sometimes I unintentionally may disregard someone's feelings or the need to just like dispel and just the need to like expel energy and expel the situation and just discuss it, I'm always like, let's find a solution. Let's find a solution. And I tend to offer unsolicited advice sometimes, but I do it with good intention. But I've been telling myself to kind of hold back a little bit because yeah, I don't know everything, even though I live my life experience the way that I did, just because that particular solution that I want to offer worked for me does not always necessarily mean that it's the best thing for others. So I've had a lot of moments where I realize that as well. Number 5, you are introspective. If you often find yourself lost in thoughts, contemplating life, your actions, and your feelings, you might be more intellectually gifted than you think. Introspection is the act of examining one's own conscious thoughts and feelings, is a common trait among those with exceptionally sharp minds. It's a sign that you're not just reacting to the world around you, but you're actively trying to understand it. This self-awareness allows you to better understand your strengths and weaknesses and how you can grow as a person. It's a key part in emotional intelligence, which is likely linked to overall intelligence. I love that one. Number 6, you're empathetic. Empathy is more than just feeling sorry for someone. It is about understanding and sharing the feelings of others. And believe it or not, this ability is a sign of a sharp mind. Exceptionally sharp individuals have a heightened ability to perceive and understand the emotions of others. They can put themselves in someone else's shoes, see things from their perspective, and respond with compassion. This emotional intelligence goes hand in hand with cognitive intelligence. It shows that your mind has the capacity to grasp complex emotions and navigate social situations. And as I'm reading this, talk about the ability to form connections. So there is this quote that goes, empathy without boundaries is self-destruction. Let me say it again. Empathy without boundaries is self-destruction. When you are an empathetic person, you do tend to absorb, not observe, but absorb. You could potentially be more inclined to absorb the energy of others and take on their pain as yours. And a lot of people, unfortunately, thrive on wallowing in self-pity. So being able to detach, to come from compassion, not from a place of, I'm enabling your behavior because I feel sorry for you, because that's not empathy. That's everyone's boundaries being crossed, and that's just unhealthy because nothing is being addressed and nothing is being done to rectify the situation. So practicing compassion and empathy, but also knowing that you have boundaries. I can help you with this situation if you're looking for assistance in this situation. I'm more than happy to help you, but I will not participate in your self-destructive behavior. That type of a thing. Even applying it to relationships, understanding that, somebody may be having a bad day, but hey, I apologize that your interaction with this other person maybe was negative, but please don't bring that energy to me and treat me disrespectfully, because although I have empathy and compassion for your pain and frustration, it's unfair that you have to be the catalyst, or you have to be the one that takes the abuse, right? So in those types of situations, practicing that and that they call it like spiritual hygiene, right? Of being able to protect your own energy and yeah, being able to be empathetic is a gift in general, as we all should be, because we are all connected. Number 7, you appreciate the arts. Psychologists suggest that individuals with sharp minds have a profound appreciation for the arts. They're drawn to the complexity, the layers of meaning, and the emotional depth that arts can offer. This affinity for the arts is more than just a hobby or a pastime. It is an intellectual stimulation, a mental workout that keeps your mind sharp and engaged. How many of you can relate to this? The immediate thing that popped into my head is being in elementary school. 1995, I was in 5th grade, and I remember lying on my bed, listening to Mariah Carey's Daydream album, reading the lyrics and singing along to all of her beautiful songs and feeling the words, even though I was just a little 5th grader who's never kissed a boy or been in love or had any of these emotions. Really, the music and the lyrics, and Mariah Carey was an excellent teacher when it came to vocabulary, because her She wrote extremely beautiful songs, and in them she incorporated some really great words. Like I learned rhapsodize from her. I learned revel. I learned isn't it bliss to you by now? What was the song? No. What other ones? She has so many good songs. You guys, if you know, you know. You know Mariah's the OG. She's the goat. I love her. I learned so many words from her, and I love words. I love poetry. I love art. Music is my jam though. I love music. I love everything that music can do to you and all the emotions that you can experience and the ability for music to be able to like move your body and the memory that can be associated when you hear a song and it like launches you back to your mid 20s when you're with your girlfriends riding in the car with the windows down. Like I'm thinking of like Kesha back in the day, like just being silly and being just so silly and being young and having fun, like all the memories flood back. Music is just such a powerful medium. It's healing. Frequencies are absolutely healing. Psychologists and neuroscientists have confirmed that. So the power of music is just amazing. So yeah, needless to say, I appreciate the arts immensely. Number 8, you're comfortable with uncertainty. Most people crave certainty. We all like to know what's going to happen next, where we're heading, but life isn't always that straightforward. Interestingly, those with exceptionally sharp minds often thrive in uncertainty. They're comfortable with not knowing everything, and they're open to possibilities and new experiences. Psychologists believe this is because these individuals see uncertainty as a chance to learn and grow. While it might be unsettling, it also presents opportunities for exploration and discovery. I love it. So far, the theme that I'm getting through this article is like just keeping a mind that's open, a heart that's open, viewing things from optimism versus fear is massive. So that's kind of the theme that I'm getting throughout this article. Number 9, you're a keen observer. Have you ever noticed things that others seem to miss? Perhaps you're the first to spot a change in a friend's mood, or you pick up on the subtle details in a movie that others overlook. Being a keen observer is the sign of a sharp mind. This ability to notice and remember details illustrates your mind's capacity to process and retain information efficiently. Observation is not just about seeing, but understanding. It involves drawing insights from the environment around you, picking up on cues, and making sense of the world. If you're someone who often spots the details that others miss, congratulations. That's your sharp mind at work. Well, sharp mind, I love you because I am such a keen observer. I observe everything. I'm crazy. Maybe not. I'll take it back. Some days I'll be out with Troy and I'm so in my like princess, goddess, feminine energy because this man makes me feel so protected and loved and I love him so much. So sometimes I'll just be oblivious. I'll just be in my own little blissful bubble, la la la, and then later we'll be walking by someone and he'll be like, "Did you see? Did you see that?" And I'll be like, "What?" Nope. I was in La La Land, babe. But when I'm, by myself and I have to be on high alert, like I'm a very observant person. I think we all have that too. So, number 10, you're a lifelong learner. The most essential sign of an exceptionally sharp mind is an insatiable thirst for knowledge. Sharp-minded individuals are lifelong learners. They're always seeking to expand their horizons, learn new skills, and deepen their understanding of the world. Lifelong learning is about more than just formal education. It's about being open to new ideas, challenging your beliefs, and continually striving for personal and intellectual growth. So, if you're someone who never stops learning, give credit to yourself. Your mind isn't just sharp, it's exceptionally so. Ooh, isn't that great? So, the fascinating aspects of human intelligence is the capacity for growth. Yes, you heard that right. The mind can expand, evolve, and become sharper. Neuroplasticity proves this on how our brain creates new synapses every time we're learning something new. Have you guys ever seen that molecule demonstration where it actually shows the brain forming new neural pathways, it's absolutely mind-blowing. The concept is often referred to as a growth mindset in psychology. It is the belief that our abilities and intelligence can be developed through dedication and hard work. Having a sharp mind isn't just about being born with it. It's about nurturing it, challenging it, and constantly feeding it with new experiences and knowledge. Whether you're a curious explorer, a problem solver, a lifelong learner, or an empathetic soul, each aspect contributes to sharpening your mind further. So next time you find yourself lost in a painting, or deep in thought about the universe, or simply enjoying the uncertainty of life, remember, it's not just about having a sharp mind, it's about continually honing it. And if you find yourself nodding along to most of these signs, take a moment to appreciate your exceptionally sharp mind and the amazing potential it holds. Keep nurturing it, keep growing. I love it. I love it so much. And on that note, you guys, I think that's pretty much it for today. I love you so much. Thank you for listening. Thank you for being here with me. I know there are so many other options you have when it comes to listening to podcasts. So I am honored that you're here with me today. I hope that you found this information informative, and I hope you know how exceptional and amazing you are. I hope you continue to share your magnificence with everyone around you, and I hope you have a beautiful week. Thank you so much for listening.